Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
It's that time again. It's time for the God on the Go car quiz. This is when we get together and we talk through some of the trivia, some of the facts that you've learned in the previous episodes. We have been in a series on God on the Go all about emotions that don't always get the spotlight, emotions that we don't often talk about, maybe we haven't even had a word for. So we've been talking about some really cool ways that we feel and how those feelings can have all kinds of wonderful things for us if we know how to direct our feelings in ways that are good, in the ways that God intended. I'm Julie Lyles Carr, and this is God on the Go, part of the Purposely Podcast Network, where we want to help you make the minutes matter. And so we're going to go back through some of the facts that we learned about some different emotions, and I want to see how you do on this episode of the car quiz. Okay, here we go. The first emotion that we talked about was that feeling of being awkward. Awkward is when you sort of feel like you don't fit in, or you feel a little clumsy or silly. And there are people in the Bible who felt this way. Moses is someone that God gave him a really big assignment to help take the Hebrews out of Egypt, out of slavery. And Moses basically was arguing back with God saying, I'm too awkward to do something like that. And yet God knew how Moses felt. He came alongside, he helped him. So what I want to ask you, there was something that we talked about that's interesting when it comes to a fact about feeling awkward. You know, when you feel awkward, it does feel like all eyes are on you, that everyone's noticing that you're being clumsy or you're not fitting in or you're doing something weird. And you can really feel like the entire room is looking at you. But there is something we learned about those times when we feel awkward. Are you ready? What percentage of people actually notice when we're feeling awkward? So you may feel like it's 100% of people are noticing when you're feeling awkward, but that's not true. Do you remember what percentage of people notice when you're feeling awkward? Are you ready? Do you remember the answer? 25%. That means if you're in a group and there are 4 people and you feel awkward, only one of them probably even notices that you're feeling awkward. And so I think that takes some of the pressure off. We feel like everybody's noticing when we're being awkward. All right, let's move on to the second one. So this is a feeling we talked about when you feel confused, when things don't quite make sense or you're not sure what's going on. We talked about that when Mary Magdalene went to the tomb of Jesus. She was so confused because even though they had buried Jesus there, his body wasn't there. And then she confused someone that she thought was the gardener, and it was actually Jesus. And she was so confused. So sometimes we do experience a feeling that we don't exactly know what's going on and we don't know what to do. But I thought this was really interesting. When we talked about being confused, let's look at this. Do you remember what we said about something that can help you learn something better? Do you remember? What is something that can help you learn something better? Well, this answer should be easy. It's when you feel confused. It can actually help you learn better. Researchers say that not knowing the answer to something and feeling confused about it can actually help your brain be more open to figuring out the solution. So when you feel a feeling of confusion, it's actually an invitation to be able to learn something better. I think that's really cool, the way that God puts our emotions together and gives us these great benefits to our emotions if we know how to direct those emotions in a good way. All right, you ready for another one? Here is the third one. What is something you can eat that can help you feel calmer? We were talking about the emotion of being calm and how in our world sometimes it can even be hard to understand what calm means. We have so many things going on, so much input happening all the time, from our devices beeping to all kinds of world events to our schedules that are just cram-packed. And to feel calm can be something that almost feels unfamiliar. We're probably more familiar with feeling stressed and worried and anxious. So if you're feeling those things, do you remember what you can eat to help you feel calmer? You ready? Okay, here it is. Researchers say eating something sour, like a sour candy or something like lemon, can actually help you feel calmer. Isn't that interesting? It has to do with making us really be in the now. When you're eating something sour, right, and all of your taste buds are just flooded, You kind of can't be anywhere but where you actually are. And so they think that's why eating sour candy can help you feel calmer, because you let go of some of the feelings you have about being worried about something off in the future. You're just living right now, trying to survive this sour candy that's in your mouth. All right, here's another trivia question. What does boredom do for you? What does boredom do for you? I shared with you that when I was a kid, I could not wait for school to be out. I was so ready to not have to get up early, to have to get on the bus, to have to be in a classroom all day. I couldn't wait for summer vacation. And then it would become summer vacation and I would be bored. And I had this sense that feeling bored was a bad thing, but actually being bored, feeling bored can be a great thing when we understand that it's an invitation for something that's really good. So let me ask you the question again. What does boredom do for you? Do you remember? It makes you more creative. Anytime you feel bored, it's an opportunity to create something new, something with your imagination. Maybe you could draw, maybe you could make up a song, maybe you could make up a story, maybe you could play with your toys in a different way that allows you to be more creative. So boredom's not a bad thing. Boredom can be great when it comes to using your imagination. All right, let's talk about the next emotion that we talked about, which is joy. Joy is sometimes giggling and laughter. Joy is sometimes screaming with excitement when you're riding down a roller coaster. Sometimes joy is quiet. It's just being so content with being with the people that you love around a dinner table. Joy is a beautiful emotion, and Jesus models for us so many times in Scripture where he felt joy. So here's the fun fact question, all right? You ready? Is joy something you experience just in your heart? Do you remember? Is joy something that's just in your mind or your heart? Well, the answer is no. Researchers tell us that joy helps protect you against illness and disease, that people who are joyful and happy, that they tend to not have as many aches and pains in their body. So joy is good medicine. That's what the Bible tells us in Proverbs. A joyful heart is good medicine. All right, let's do our last one now. This is an emotion that we talked about that is so cool. This is when you realize that you are kind of little and God is really, really big. The emotion that we're talking about is awe. Awe when you are just in wonder, when you marvel at something that you see that God has created, or an experience that you have that shows you how big his love is. This feeling of awe, of just realizing, wow, that is something I could never do, and it is so incredible. Now, there's a connection that we talked about when it comes to the feeling of awe that you might not think these two things are connected. So when you feel awe, how does it make a difference in how you treat other people? Do you remember? When you have this sense of awe, this feeling, this emotion of awe, how does it make a difference in how you treat other people? I'll give you a second. Okay, the answer is psychologists say that when we feel awe, we tend to be more generous and helpful to other people. And they think that's because this feeling of awe reminds us that there is something so much bigger out there going on. There's something so much bigger in the universe, that God is so much bigger. And it makes us feel more connected to others. And when we feel more connected to others, well, usually, then we're more generous and more helpful. So awe has this beautiful connection to being just a better person, to loving people better. I love that. I think it's such a great thing. All right, we're going to be jumping into a new series next week, so be sure and come back for that. I want you to text the word GO, that's GO, to 89419. I know we always tag these episodes with that, but we just love to know that you're along for the ride with us, and that way we can send you updates on new episodes coming up, memory verses, discussion questions, so that you can keep the conversation going with your family when you're on the go. I'll see you next time on God on the Go.